I am Graham Standish. I'm the Executive Director of Samaritan Counseling, Guidance, and Consulting, which you can see right here. And I'm glad that you are with us again this month to talk about another topic in our Living a Fruitful Life series. If you have been following along throughout the course of the year, you know we've been doing this series on how do you live a life that makes a difference for you, makes a difference for other people. And actually, in starting this series, it was based on something I learned from playing athletics, playing sports, which is this idea that if your fundamentals are off, then your whole game will be off. And for Christians, if our fundamentals are off, then our whole life is going to be off. And there are fundamentals in Christianity, and it's not just reading scripture or praying, but it's things like cultivating humility or cultivating compassion or cultivating love or cultivating peace. And so for this month, I want to talk about cultivating another fruit that Paul writes about in his letter to the Ephesians in chapter 4. He says that he wants us to live with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And so what I want to talk about for this month is this really central idea of bearing with one another. And I'm actually pulling this out because we're so used to the idea of living with love and living with compassion that sometimes it just becomes so abstract and so much in our mind that we don't think about what does this mean on a basic level. Paul talks about bearing with one another in love. So what does that mean? Well, at its foundation, bearing with one another means I'm not just focused on me and what's good for my life. I'm focused on lifting other people up. That I'm actually scanning around looking for how other people are and asking the question, how do I lift this person up? How do I lift that person up? How do I lift them up? You know, this is such an important concept because right now we live very much in an age of me. An age of not just me, Graham Standish, but of me, whoever we are. We get so irritated with each other because they're not the way I want them to be. I want people over there to be more like me. I want that person to think more the way I do politically. I want that person to live more the way I do. I want that person to wear the kinds of clothes I wear. I want that person to interact with others the way I would do it. And not only that, but I want the world to adjust around me, around my beliefs, my values, what I cherish. And so what you notice is it's really hard for us to live together, to look out for what's best for each other. I think about this just in terms of wearing masks. You know, I have to be honest. When we were told we had to wear a mask, I was like, that's crazy. I'm not wearing a mask. And the first few times I went out there and I didn't. And then it all of a sudden occurred to me, I can't really care about other people if I'm not willing to sacrifice something of myself for them. I don't necessarily wear a mask to protect me. I wear a mask to protect others. Because when I wear this nice Graham tartan mask, I'm actually saying to someone else, you can be safe around me. You can feel safe around me. I don't want to wear this, but I'm wearing it because of you, because I care about you. This is part of bearing with each other. We live in a day and an age when we don't want to do that. I've been inspired by the Good Samaritan story. I don't think it's God's coincidence that I became executive director of Samaritan Counseling, Guidance, Consulting, because there's something in that name that is this person who is willing, even though he was rejected by the Jews because he was a Samaritan, he was willing to lift up someone he saw by the side of the road. He was willing to bear with somebody else. I want to close with a story that actually comes out of Islam that really inspired me 30 years ago, and it's been something I've really focused on my whole life. It's a story about an old Sufi. The Sufis are the mystical sect of Islam. They actually modeled themselves on the monastic movement from Christianity back in the 10th, 11th, 12th centuries. And if you've ever heard of a whirling dervish, that's what they are. They're people who pray as they spin. But there's this old story about a Sufi. And the Sufi is old in age and is praying to God and says to God, God, when I was a young man, all I used to do is pray to you, help me to change the world. Help me to change the world and I will be satisfied. And then I hit the middle of my life and I realized I hadn't changed anything in the world. So I changed my prayer. My prayer became, Lord, help me to change my family and friends. Just let me help my family and friends and change them, and I will die a satisfied man. Well, here I am in old age, and I realize I haven't changed the world. I haven't changed my family and friends. And so my prayer became, God, help me simply to change myself, and I shall be satisfied. See, this is the key to bearing with one another. We want other people to lift us up. We want other people to change to meet us. But bearing with one another says, I am willing to change myself to lift you up. Thanks for being part of this week. And please join me next time as we continue to talk about how to bear with one another in life.